Toss me a ball. Gotta make sure I still have the old arm there. All right, time to fire the sucker in. Yeah. Should have used this instead. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Look, no desk. We're here at Yankee Stadium, a little special outdoor episode since the weather's nice. Again, it is baseball weather here. But we'll look back at the start of the season. We know they swept the Giants there out in San Francisco there, but more importantly than the wins, but we'll kind of dissect some of the really good parts of that there in case you overlooked anything. And of course, on that road trip, Aaron Boone, we'll give him congratulations winning his 700th win as a manager, as a Yankee manager, of course, there. And we'll kind of let you know where he stacks up among some other Yankee managers, such as Joe Girardi, Joe Torre, Joe McCarthy. A lot of Joes in the list. It's kind of weird there. And of course, it's a new season here at Yankee Stadium. You know, what's more important than the game than the food, of course. You know, you buy a ticket, but you're in line for like 5 of those innings getting food there. So we'll give you a rundown of all the new food options here at Yankee Stadium there. Some really crazy, some might not get the cut. Maybe people might get sick from some of these things I'm going to tell you about, but now we'll give you the full rundown. And maybe this off season you really weren't paying attention. I don't know, it's just sort of, you were bummed out by the Yankees the way the season ended. You were into football, you're just not, maybe you're doing your FanDuel stuff at basketball. You haven't been paying attention, and you're like, what moves did the Yankees make? Who did they get? Who did they trade? Did the Yankees get Kyle Schwarber? No, the Yankees didn't get Kyle Schwarber there. So we'll go around the horn, as I said, position by position, just let you know who the Yankees have at every position there, so you don't say something ridiculous. You know, you'd be watching the game, and your buddies say, hey, Devin Williams is going to come out and close the game. So he's not going to close the game because now he's with the Mets there. So we'll go through the position players, the starting rotation, the bullpen, let you know who the Yankees have, so you get the whole enchilada there. So got an exciting episode for you, action-packed there, so let's get started. Now, normal people don't have a flip phone. So if you're one of those like unnormal people, or whatever you want to call them, you might have a tablet, you might have a smartphone, like where can I catch a show? I have to remind you a million times, but maybe as you see me here, maybe in the stadium, maybe it'll finally jog it in for you. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And of course, you got that fancy smartphone thing, go to YouTube, find the show, subscribe. And of course, you watch it on TV, make sure you get it on YouTube, make sure you get the audio podcast, get it all, and it's here at the stadium. So maybe now it gets it into your head. And the Yankees getting off on the season on the right foot by sweeping the San Francisco Giants on the road there. And of course, yes, it's right, the good, 3 wins, of course, a nice way to start the season. The Yankees did that also last season here against the Brewers, but it's how they won. Good starting pitching the whole way from Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren. Even Will Warren getting out a couple of jams, which we didn't see that from Will Warren years past. He would always have these big blow-up innings there. Now, he didn't get across the 5th inning for the win there, but again, kept the damage to a minimum there. But also, you'd like to see timely hitting. You got RBIs from Ryan McMahon. You got RBIs from Cabrera, the new guy, as well as Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, he got a home run, but he also got some RBI hits, some contact baseball. And of course, Aaron Judge having a bad first game, put it right behind him and hit 2 home runs in the games after that there. So obviously, now the Giants aren't the greatest team in the world. They don't have the greatest, lineup in the world. Doesn't scare you there, but a really good way to start the season there. And again, starting off 3-0 kind of gives you a little bit of a cushion there because Toronto also got a good start there, and you want to be head-to-head to them in the AL East. And of course, congratulations are in order for Aaron Boone getting his 700th win as a Yankee manager. Really as a total manager because he's only managed the Yankees. And for all the knocks against him, that he's a knucklehead and Cashman really runs a team and all that stuff like that. Pretty quite an accomplishment, especially, he came here in 2018, kind of this as a novice manager, winning 100 games in his first 2 seasons there. And of course, yes, he hasn't gotten the World Series yet, but still in quite of an elite class. So he joins a number of 5 managers that are currently in baseball that do have 700 more wins. So that's Terry Francona, of course, there, A.J. Hinch, the cheater, Dave Roberts. He stole that base. That's how you really remember Dave Roberts stealing the base of Mariano Rivera in 2004. But of course, the Dodgers manager, of course, he has 1 million rings by now. Kevin Cash, former backup Yankee catcher, longtime manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, and of course, Craig Counsell there. So Boone in that class with those other 5 managers. Now you would say, where does he rank on the all-time Yankee list? Well, he still's got to work to go to get number 1. Probably not going to happen, but at least in next earshot. So right now, Aaron Boone's listed as number 7 for the all-time Yankee manager for number wins there. Next on the list is a guy you might be familiar with, Joe Girardi at 910 wins. So Boone needs about 210 more wins to surpass that. Probably not going to happen this season. Probably not going to happen next season if he's still around. Maybe if you're still around, like 2028, but it's a little far ahead of ourselves. Then after that, it'll be Ralph Halk at 944. Now you might say, who's the all-time number one? You might think, is it Joe Torre? No, Joe Torre's number two. But if Aaron Boone wants to get to number one on that list, which is probably not going to happen, that'll be the great Joe McCarthy, who has 1,460 wins there. I mean, it's easy when you have like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and like Tony Lazzari in the lineup, but even I could have managed those teams, but nevertheless, 1,400 wins. So I don't think Aaron Boone's going to get there. He needs like another 700 wins to even consider that, and I don't think Aaron Boone's going to be around long enough to make that happen, unfortunately. Interesting note about Joe McCarthy. All those years, all those wins, he only got kicked out of 6 games. So he only got ejected from the game 6 times there. So again, it's pretty easy when you have Babe Ruth. There's nothing to argue about. Now it's a new season here at Yankee Stadium, so of course you have new food items. Again, the food is more important than the baseball game. Doesn't matter, even if you spent a fortune on a ticket, you want to spend like half the game on the food lines there. So maybe you're familiar with like what the new food items are, so I got the list for you there. Did a lot of in-depth research on this one, so hopefully you appreciate it. So first at the City Winery, which is located at Section 105, I didn't know they had one, but nevertheless they do, they have the porchetta sandwich. Now you may say, what's a porchetta sandwich? I did even more research into this. I never heard of this thing before. It sounds very foofy. That it's a pork belly sandwich, but it's like in a Bergeau bun, and they fill it in with like, cabbage and all these green things and herbs and sauce of that. So I don't know how much it costs there, but that's a foofy pork belly sandwich. Next we got Mrs. It's not Miss, it's MS's. I think it's Mrs. Spicy Chicken Wings. So Mrs. Spicy Chicken Wings, you can find that in section 112. Then this is really important. I think they might have had this previously, but now Mrs. Softy has gotten in there. Now it'd be awesome if they got the Mrs. Softy truck in there. That would really be great. But it's kind of the soft serve. You see that at other places. You see it at Jones Beach. So it's like, it's Mrs. Softy, but you want the truck, you want the jingle. But nevertheless, it's available. Multiple sections: 110, 125, 205, 224, 305. Giving some love to the people all the way up there, and 318, and of course the bleachers to cool them down in the summer there, soak it in with the booze and all that stuff there. Then we got the fried Zeppelis. It's kind of basic. Section 127. Then we have bacon ranch, not just regular mac and cheese, but bacon ranch mac and cheese, available at 223. And then they really done themselves out with this one. This is Lobel's, the Lobel section, section 134. It's barbecue filet tipped tater tots. So these are barbecue filleted tater tots, not just regular tater tots. I really put the effort into this one here. Got to mention it before, section 134. Meatballs with cherry garlic bread, kind of a generic meatball sandwich, whatever. That's, I guess, the Christian Patron, whatever. It's a sections 125 and 310. Again, giving love to the people up there in the 300 levels. Then we got the Sweet Spot Bowl. I have no idea what it is. Maybe some sort of poke bowl. Doesn't scream baseball, but nevertheless you can find it at 311. Now we got multiple shakes here, a lot of different shakes, but some of them, like, they put Butterfinger in there, they put like a Baby Ruth in there, some of them put like ice cream in there, but always like different things in there. And it's like, what is this there? All types of shakes that you might get sick. It's probably very unhealthy for you, but nevertheless available at 112, 125, and 324. Again, giving love to those people up there in the 300 section there, so they don't have to starve to death. And last but not least, this might have been there before, man, and realized Chipotle has made their way in there. Chipotle has gotten in there. They have a barbecue chicken sandwich of their own, and that's in section 132, so bon appetit. Okay, the season started. Maybe you watched a few games, maybe you didn't watch a few games. You're like, who's on this team actually? I don't even know. So I'm going to do all the homework for you. Now, as they said, they were running it back from last season, which that is kind of true. So be a lot of the familiar names, but just make sure you're a Yankee expert. I don't want you to get caught by the water cooler and not know who's like the backup first baseman there. So kind of got you fully covered there. So we're going to go position by position, give you all the players that are there. We'll give you the starting rotation. We'll give you in the bullpen. We'll give you on the bench. We'll give you the whole thing. So, and if you can't remember all these names, take out a piece of paper, get a pen there, get ready to write this whole down, because I'm going to give you the whole enchilada. Well, there was like a home plate here at some point there, that's why it's pressed down. But behind the dish for the Yankees, of course, is Austin Wells. Coming off playing for Team DR there, and it seemed like he kind of grew up a little bit in that. Obviously sporting the full beard now there, so really, really going for it. Maybe didn't like the whole mustache thing last year, so now this year it's the beard for him. Of course, he's behind the dish there. Obviously, the situation with him. Obviously, good defensively there, good at some home run power there, but you just don't see with the batting average there. You want to get the batting average up there, but of course, he's going to get the majority of starts behind home plate there. And of course, backing him up will be J.C. Ascari. Remember him? He was kind of the feel-good story last year, kind of the Uber Lyft driver who made the team there, and he kind of stuck with the team the whole season there. Didn't really have any big moments there, but had a decent spring himself there. Will be also joining the team, and of course has a third option behind the plate. And we know with the Yankees this last season is Ben Rice. Now I don't love the idea. I just think he should focus all his energies and attentions at first base, which we'll get into a little bit there. But he's also a third option behind the plate. But of course, if Aaron Boone kind of wants to stack the lineup there, maybe wants to get a little greedy, he might put someone like Paul Goldschmidt at first base, and instead of like J.C. Escobar or Wells, maybe Ben Rice has some good numbers against somebody, put Ben Rice there behind the plate. But of course, the majority starts are going to be for Austin Wells. And the aforementioned Ben Rice will get the majority of starts at first base. I honestly thought the Yankees should just throw the training wheels off and put him out there full time against righties and lefties. Let him learn how to hit left-handed pitching. I know that they figure, that's the reason that they got Paul Goldschmidt there, but I kind of wanted the Yankees just throw him out there and let him there. But nevertheless, just before the spring training came to a close there, they kind of out of nowhere signed Paul Goldschmidt, 1 year, $4 million deal. Again, I wasn't against Paul Goldschmidt. I liked him, but I just thought maybe he wore down towards the second half of the season there. And I said, look, Ben Rice is going to maybe be a future first baseman. Just throw him out there no matter what versus righties and lefties. But of course, the Yankees want to go to the platoon situation. I'm okay with it. Again, Paul Goldschmidt at $10 million or $12 million, which he got last season, I thought was not a good idea. But the fact that they got him for $4 million, okay, it's more desirable. So yes, you have Ben Rice there at first base, and of course Paul Goldschmidt will probably get the starts against lefties, and maybe they'll bring in Paul Goldschmidt for some late inning defense. Defensively, probably Paul Goldschmidt, even at 37, 38 years old, is probably a little bit better than Ben Rice. Not that Ben Rice is terrible, and if you remember that opening series against the Giants there, made a couple of good plays, got involved in some double plays there, so he is improving on his defense there. Again, I would rather him be at full time, but to split a little bit, he's probably still going to get the majority of starts at first base though. I would like to get full time, but still it'll be enough, and then maybe the season after this, he'll be the everyday first baseman. And Jazz back on second base, fresh off his 30-30 season last year. Now he's promising a 50-50 season this year. Probably not going to happen there, but he still could get around 30-30. We know we could do offensively. Defensively, still pretty decent. It has the strong arm there. And actually, you'd like to see the camaraderie with him and Cabrera at least to start the season. I mean, some of those double plays they turned there in the Giants series there were pretty impressive there. Now, obviously with Jazz, interesting year. He's coming into his last year of his official contract, so he's playing for a contract, which is in a way good news for the Yankees because you would assume he's going to be motivated to have the best numbers possible to get the biggest type of contract. So yeah, you'd root from that regard. Now, long-term plans for the Yankees, I don't think he's going to be in it. Again, I like Jazz. I think the team likes Jazz there, but I saw that's a guy you're going to commit to like a 5-year contract for like $150 million or something like that there, which is probably going to command there. So this is probably going to be his last season with the Yankees if I had to guess. Now, if he has a tremendous season and the Yankees have a deep postseason run and win the World Series and he's in the middle of all that, maybe he comes back there. But if I had to guess, this is probably Jazz's last season in the Yankee uniform. But again, I think he's going to have a good season. And Cabrera at shortstop hole for now. We don't know how long that's going to last. Of course, we know Anthony Volpe, who had the offseason surgery on his shoulder, starting the season on the IL. At some point, he's going to come back. And of course, Cabrera, when the Yankees picked up during the last trade deadline, obviously we know he's multi-talented, can play multiple positions, can play shortstop. But again, if Volpe comes back and is a bit of a logjam, he could also play the outfield as well. So he's going to be in the mix there. So Yankees are going to have a tough decision to make. We know how some Yankee fans are kind of down on Volpe. I have mixed feelings about him, but we've seen with Cabrera at least the start of the season, and what we saw in spring training there, you saw the upside with him. Maybe he doesn't have the power of Volpe there, but you see the batting average, you see the defense a little bit more competent there. And again, getting back to some double plays, in the Giants series, he turned with Jazz there. Looked like the two of them in sync there, so he looks like a real professional there. So again, once Volpe comes back, the Yankees are going to have to make a tough decision now. It seemed like the Volpe still has the inside track on the job, but once he comes back, he's really going to have to fail to really lose the job. So, but it's good to know that you have someone like Cabrera in the back pocket, that if Volpe does fall flat on the face, you can insert Cabrera back there and really not miss a beat. And similar to first base, a little bit of a platoon situation at third base, but of course the majority of starts are going to go to Ryan McMahon, like the majority of starts at first base are going to go to Ben Rice. And McMahon, one of the key reasons why, again, this Yankee team this season at the start is much more improved than last year. Remember last year you had like DJ LeMahieu out there, which, again, we all love DJ LeMahieu. He was not a Major League Baseball player anymore. He could not hit Major League pitch anymore. You're starting to see that Ryan McMahon, who has, obviously hit better than DJ LeMahieu did last year, and of course his defense, Gold Glove caliber defense. So, but of course he's going to platoon with Ahmad Rosario, who, again, if you remember, as a Met, came up as a shortstop, but of course really can't play shortstop anymore, a little bit older, but will be playing third base, probably those games where the Yankees are facing left-handed pitching. But interesting enough about the Yankee infield, terms of the bench, they're kind of thin there, man. There's really no backup for Jazz at this point. There's really no backup for Cabarella, and there's really, other than Rosario, there's not really backup for McMahon at third. So Yankees kind of taking a little bit of a risky move like that. Now that probably has to do with the number of pitches they have in the bullpen. They'd rather carry some extra pitches versus have some position players there. So now McMahon, they tried him a little bit at shortstop. I may recall they tried to experiment with it there just in case he has to play shortstop in the pinch there. So Yankees kind of gambling a little bit early out of the gate there, just hoping that none of their infielders get hurt. And you can kind of run some of your position players ragged. It is the start of the season there, and as you know, the pitchers aren't built up. Starting pitching isn't built up to really go a long way, so you do need more relieves to start the season. But as the season goes along, you're probably going to see them probably put some guys or take some guys out of the bullpen and put some more position players on the bench there, because soon enough, guys are going to get achy, guys are going to get hurt. And after all the long-out drama of the offseason of Cody Bellinger, is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? He's going to sign with the Mets. Ultimately signed with the Yankees, which we feel was going to happen anyway. Now, they have him locked in for 2 years, so that's the 2026 and 2027 seasons. After that, he can opt out of the deal there, so it's not technically a long-term Yankee contract, but at least he got him secured for 2 years in left field for Yankee Stadium. Now, because he's a little versatile, he can play a little center field if he has it there. He can play in first base, he also in a jam if he has it there. But, of course, it was a good move for the Yankees to make that. Now, you had a couple guys percolating, such as Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones. Probably didn't see Spencer Jones making the team just because of the conga line and people in front of them. But you also have Jason Dominguez, who had a really good spring. The two of them had a really good spring. So if something does happen to whether it's Bellinger or one of the other outfielders, at least you have the two young guns in AAA. And Manning center fielder, of course, is Trent Grisham, who kind of surprised the Yankees by taking that 1 year, $22 million qualifying offer. They probably figured he'd kind of just walk away and try to get a bigger deal after coming off a 34 home run season there. But took the, maybe didn't want to gamble too much with that. Figured, let me have one more year, get the guaranteed $22 million there. So the Yankees were like, Now that kind of stunted the growth of Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones, because in that case, you could have put Cody Bellinger in the center field and either had Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez making peanuts playing left field. So the Yankees kind of, got their toe stubbed with that one, so they kind of have to swallow this for a year there. But Trent Grisham, who did not have a good spring, fans were getting on him, but of course in the first game, which counts the regular season, hitting a huge RBI triple in the game and also stole a base in the game after that. So kind of looks normal there, and that's why don't go too crazy with the spring training numbers more or less there. Now, is Trent Grisham going to hit 34 home runs this season? Probably not, but if he gets you 20, 25, that's good enough for him. And then after the season, he's definitely going to walk off for, the Yankees are going to have no interest in signing him. Not that he's terrible there, but you have the young guys in AAA there. They got to get their chance. So right now, Trent Grisham is kind of stopping that opportunity there, but after the season, then it'll open up doors to the young guys. And, of course, the big man, number 99, in right field there, who just coming off his third MVP, and he'll probably get a fourth one, who knows, like that. And, of course, fans were giving him flack about, the whole thing what happened in the WBC. And, of course, that last game was not good for him, going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And, of course, the first game of the season against the Giants, people panicking, oh, my God, with a golden sombrero, 4 strikeouts. Okay, that's very unjudging-like. But he's corrected the course right away, hitting a home run in each of the next 2 games after that. And, of course, it's Aaron Judge over the long haul. He's going to have the numbers as long as he's healthy there. Now, at a certain point, he's probably going to have to transit to the DH, but, of course, you can't do that right now because Stanton's got that job right now. But if it's Aaron Judge, and as long as he's healthy there, he's going to be the MVP running. You can just guarantee it. And speaking of the big man, Big G, Giancarlo Stanton is your DH. Well, they got kind of no choice. We saw him play a little outfield last year, but of course he's going to be a DH. But of course, had a good spring there. Again, it took him a while to finally get started, but when he did, hitting a couple home runs in spring, and of course the second game of the season, hitting a home run there in San Francisco. And if you look at a few games he's had this season, has gone 2 for 4, multiple hits there. So really off to a good start of the season for him. And of course, we know he's dealing with the situation with the elbows, which he had to deal with last season. Well, it really seems like he still has the same pain, but because he finds a way to play through it, has been playing through it. And again, other than Ryan McMahon, another one of the key factors to start the season why the Yankees are in a better off position they were last year is a Giancarlo Stanton that's producing. Can't say he's healthy, his elbows bother him, but he is producing there to start the season. You didn't have that last season there, so a big plus for the Yankees there. Now, where he stands contractually, obviously he has this season. Now, next year he has a player option, which I'm sure he's going to take because he's going to want the money. Now, after that, there's a team option for 2028. Now, unless Stanton just goes gangbusters these next 2 years, which I don't see, and he'll put up some decent numbers, don't see gangbusters there. Yankees aren't going to pick up that 2028 option, so you'll have him in a Yankee uniform this season, probably have for 2027, and then from there he'd probably be up in the smoke there. But as he can, let it enjoy right now. Again, Big G's doing his thing, he's hitting his home run, so if he's happy, we're all happy. And of course, the starting rotation, which we're familiar with most of the names in, that's going to be a little bit tweaked a little bit as some guys come back from the IL, mainly Garrett Cole, kind of a big name there. But at least at the start of the season, you have Max Fried as kind of the de facto ace for now. Pitched brilliantly in the first game against the Giants there, backed up by Cam Schlittler, who really kind of picked up before he was last season. I mean, as good as Fried was, Schlittler was even nastier going into the sixth inning, only giving up one run there. So he looks like spot on in mid-season form already, pumping 99 miles per hour there. Now, after that, it's going to be a little bit of a mishmash there, just because where the Yankees schedule is, at least through the early part of April there. You have kind of Will Warren as your de facto number 3 pitcher there, starting pitcher there, who was good in his first game against the Giants as well. That was in the finale there. And then number 4, Ryan Weathers, the son of David Weathers, who pitched well in his first game against Seattle. Now, obviously, he got a little bad luck because the offense would back him up. When you're facing Luis Castillo, it's hard to come by runs, but at least, pitching into the 5th inning, at least a decent job for his first time out there. We'll see how he goes there. Now, after that, we know down the road, we got calls for Doan coming back. Obviously, he had the off-season procedure on his elbow there. Not ready for the start of the season yet, but at some point, he should join the Yankees, maybe around late April into May there. And, of course, the masterpiece, the coup d'etat, which will be Garrett Cole, coming back from Tommy John surgery, who thrown a couple of innings so far previously in spring training there. They probably have to work him in the minors a little bit, but at some point, probably middle to late May there, he'll join the team as well there. And of course, you have Luis Heel, who not going to be in the rotation to start the season now. Didn't have the best of springs to start off with, and of course I covered that a couple of episodes ago. After that, in game against Baltimore, he finally looked like his old self there, but still, this is the way the schedule works there. The Yankees have a lot of off days in the first couple of days of the season, especially in April there, so they actually parked Luis Heel, who had an option left on his contract, to go down to AAA. Decided, he still need to work on a few things there, and at some point they'll bring him up there, which is going to make it a little bit interesting, but it's a good problem to have there, because once you have all these guys back there, you're basically going to have like 6 or 7 pitches for 5 spots there, so what do you do there? So I think it creates a healthy competition there, and we saw, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, and Luis Heel are probably going to be competing for that 5th starter spot. Let's see Luis Heel, who did not have a good season last year. Now we know he's the 2024 American League Rookie of the Year. Got off to a great start there. Came down to earth a little bit, but again, overall had a decent season. In 2025, unfortunately, was hurt at the start of the season there. He didn't join the team to the later part of the year, and kind of really wasn't himself anymore, and kind of tried to take down the velocity, be more of a control pitcher. That didn't work as well there. And again, his spring wasn't the greatest as well. So I still think it's there, though, so I wouldn't give up on the guy there. But again, he's going to have to pitch well, because he's got guys like Will Warren and Ryan Weathers who are kind of nipping at his heels there, so it's going to create a healthy competition. And all things considered, if this works out the way it should, by May, June, the Yankees could very easily have the best rotation in baseball, bar none. And of course, in the bullpen for the Yankees, closing is David Bednar, which that in itself just makes the Yankees much better than they were last season, because we know what happened with Devin Williams. Unfortunately, it was a disaster. I know the idea was right. You have Luke Weaver, who had a really good 2024, was brilliant in the postseason there. You match him with Devin Williams, who at least at that time you would consider one of the top closers in baseball. You would think you have an unstoppable bullpen. Unfortunately, that happened. This Devin Williams was terrible last April and May, then lost the closer's job. And Luke Weaver, unfortunately, whatever happened, just was not the same pitcher. Of course, we know he went down for a while with a hamstring there. We thought he would be out for 6 weeks. Turned out to come back a little sooner there. But again, it was never the same. And of course, had a lot of big blow-ups, coughed up a lot of big home runs like George Springer in some of those games against Toronto there. And then there was supposedly some problems with him, like tipping pitches, and he was like being thick-headed about it and didn't want to change his ways. Got to the point where the Yankees didn't even offer him a contract in the season end there. So the Yankees kind of started retooling the bullpen, even going back to the last trade deadline to now there. But again, a much improved Yankee bullpen to start the season there, of course, mainly with David Bednar. We saw, we did the final game there against the Giants there, 2 runners on, nobody else, and gets out of a huge jam. And that's the thing with Bednar. We see him bend a little bit. He got a couple guys gone, but he doesn't pressure, gets out of those jams. Even one of the games against the DR for Team USA, he was playing on Team USA, getting couple of big strikeouts in a big spot there. So you feel much more confident with David Bednar closing these games than we were last season with David Williams and Luke Weaver there. And then setting up there, Camilo Doval, another guy who came from last year's trade deadline. It's kind of like we weren't too sure about him, because he kind of was like dipping his toe in the water there. They put him in a couple of games in the postseason. He was okay there, but really saw him take off this spring, and he also pitched for the Dominican Republic team there. Again, even against Team USA, got 3 strikeouts there, and we saw the second game there against the Giants, also striking out the side there. So really the swing and miss stuff is good. Real nasty stuff there. So him setting up Bednar, really good choice there. And if you want to go the rest of the way, Jake Bird, who, the Yankees traded from last season, but his arm is already taxed. And again, I'm not even sure whether they're interested in him. Threw him out there a few times there, gave like a grand slam against the Marlins there, and then gave a 3-1 home run, and the Yankees just shut him down for the rest of the season. This year around, totally different story. Had a good spring there, and you saw again one of those games against the Giants there, pitching the third game, getting the win there, and getting a couple of strikes there, and looks like a much different pitcher there. And you just see the weapons this Yankee bullpen has. You've mixed in there Fernando Cruz, which we saw what he could do last season. Tim Hill, we know what he could do. He's again the year plus he's been with the Yankees. They're very, very successful there as a lefty. His other lefty, Brian Hedrick. You also Ryan Yarbrough in there. Cade Winquist, who kind of made the team by almost on the last day, kind of surprising anybody there, and just to make sure we don't want to leave anybody off there with the bullpen, Yarbrough, Deval, Cruz, and of course Paul Blackburn, which I don't know even why they signed this guy. Again, they only paid like $2 million there. I wasn't that impressed with him last season there, and of course he ended up costing the Yankees game early on against the Mariners there. But again, you kind of need a guy there just to throw out, whether you're up by 10 runs or down by 10 runs, you just kind of throw a junk guy out there. So Paul Blackburn's your junk guy. But getting back to what I said before, where the Yankees kind of have this longer, deeper bullpen, is because at the start of the season, the starters aren't stretched out yet. So you're going to need more guys coming out of the bullpen, and as a result, the Yankees don't have as many guys on the bench. And the Yankees bench is going to be a little bit thin to start the season, I mean, because they're going to have to carry some more pitches early on there. But really, you only have a couple of guys. I mean, of course, you have Randall Grichuk, who made the team at the expense of Jason Dominguez. Reason being, he's a veteran. He's a right-handed bat, which they wanted there, and he can play all outfield positions. Other than that, the Yankees really don't have too many other bench players. I did kind of mention Rosario as a backup at third base, a kind of platoon situation against left-handed pitching. Same with Paul Goldschmidt at first base there. But that's kind of about it. I mean, J.C. Escal's your backup catcher, but other than that, the Yankees only have a deep bench. So mainly for Caballero and Jazz, if one of those two get hurt there, the Yankees are going to have to figure something out. Now, Caballero, if he has to in a pinch, could probably play second base, and then again, you'll maybe have to put McMahon plays a little shortstop and then move Rosario to third base. That's if they really have to. In the past, we've seen Paul Goldschmidt take some grounders at second base. I don't think the Yankees would even consider that at age like 37, 38 years old there. But, the Yankees have to cross their fingers a little bit there because the bench is thin there, so they got to hope, especially the middle infielders, nobody gets hurt. Long episode. I see that. As you know, this is the first season that they're doing the ABS system in Major League Baseball. Of course, they experimented, previous season in the minors there. But again, this season, as we saw this spring training and last spring training, but now in the actual regular season, the use of the ABS challenge system where, I think it's been good. Of course, we've seen a lot of calls overturned, but maybe it's not so good because now we're seeing how many blown calls we have by umpires there. And if you just look at the Yankees, that first game in Seattle there, they were 5 for 5 against Mike Estabrook there. He blew 5 calls, and that was just the early part of the game. And then, of course, there was another game, not even related to the Yankees, with our old friend of C.B. Buckner, who, once Angel Hernandez retired, C.B. Buckner became the new worst umpire in baseball. Blew like 6 calls there. So those 2 umpires in 2 games blew like 11 calls there, and these calls are important to some of the at-bats. I mean, if you want to look at the third game there against the Giants, Will Warren on the mound there, had a situation where they were going to punch out Luis Reyes. Well, it turns out Luis Reyes challenged it, won the challenge, turned out to be a walk. After that, Rafael Devers gets a hit. Now you have runners on first and second. Reyes takes third there. Now you have runners on first and third there. Now, good thing Will Warren got a strikeout to get out of the jam. But nevertheless, just to show you how one blown call could just unravel an inning for a pitcher. Now, yes, we want to get the calls right there, but we're seeing what's going to happen here because a lot of these umpires are starting to get embarrassed here. So, how can you have how can you go 0 for 5 on the calls there? So, I think at some point there, they just might totally take balls and strikes away from umpires because obviously you see how many calls they're getting wrong there, and it's embarrassing. I feel bad for them a little bit because look, we're watching on TV, even with like the splits, even with all the high definition TV and replays, some of these calls are borderline, and you have the whole thing, well, the angle's coming in this way, and the ball went over the plane that way, and it's really tough there, and they got to make that decision like in a split second there. So I don't totally blame the umpires, it's tough there, but now the fact that this is now part of the game there, I think maybe at some point they're just going to have to transition balls and strikes totally to the ABS system there because you can't have an umpire blowing as many calls there and sitting there. It's just a total embarrassment there. So at first, I didn't love the whole ABS thing. I just think, look, you should be all human, all nothing. So, but the fact that we are here, then let's just go all in on it. Maybe it's going to take a few more seasons. Of course, you have the umpire union. They all have jobs, and some of these guys have been around 20, 30 years. I don't want to see anybody lose the job there. I think umpires are part of the game, calling balls and strikes there, so I don't want to lose that at either there. But just look at how many blown calls already. It's just been like a week or two of baseball there. And you go back all the years of baseball, how many World Series, how many championships, how many moments have all just been really almost fraudulent because a lot of these calls have just been wrong. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you remember all those players I've thrown at you. And you still have some homework to do there. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on TV, go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And whether you're watching on TV or not, you want to get the audio podcast version of the show. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees podcast, and we'll catch you next time.